Hello, and once actually doing this video from the mobile studio, which is my car. And even though the lighting conditions are somewhat unusual, it being night time and I usually kind of film in the day, I just wanted to talk about anxiety and depression and suicide. I've just attended a few hours back the funeral of a young man I wasn't currently involved with. I had no relationship to him, but I know his his ex-partner, and went there to give her a little bit of support. And it just brings me to the crisis which is befalls us in just general life in general, the anxiety and the depression that we go through as people. And has to be said that I've been on antidepressants myself. I've suffered from depression, and not so much in the ways that some people are have a chemically altered perception of life, which requires a constant chemical support system to readjust their view of life and stuff. But I do find myself at certain junctures in my life where I have to reassess the way that I actually think, because they're just wrong. I tend to be quite harsh on myself, and I'm not alone, because I've spoken to people in the past that have this same kind of mental deficiency where we just don't see the colour and the beauty in the world that there is, and it affects us, and it colours our judgment. And this young man, I say young man, he was probably a little bit older than me, but not really that much older, was in such a bad place that he actually decided to take his own life. And I was one of the pallbearers at his funeral, and I don't think there's anything quite as grounding as feeling the weight of somebody's body on your wrist, on you're taking the weight of what once was somebody human, somebody who had a life, who had dreams and aspirations, and now they're all gone. They've chosen this way, this escape, and I'm not entirely sure if that will ever solve their problems. I mean, myself, I believe in a life after life. And I believe that death is the end, and I don't think these problems essentially leave you ever. And if you had problems actually dealing with them in this life, then possibly the next life might not be any easier. So I don't know if I offer any solutions in this. I don't know if my way of thinking now is somewhat changed. I recognise the spiraling seduction which sadness and sorrow sometimes pulls me in and pulls me into. And even though I sometimes feel that aspect of me scratching to that dark side of my mind and wanting to go down that same path that I used to mask over with drugs and drink and stuff, just to quell that feeling for just a small time of my life, so I could actually make it through the next day. And I now recognise the futility of those kind of actions. And so with more positive thinking, and it's hard to say, I mean, when somebody's in a bad mood, you can't just say cheer up. You can't just say, buck up. You have to be there and listen. But on the other side of things, you also have to be a person that has to communicate. And my problem, I feel, is when I'm in these dark places, it's just I tend to shut myself off. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to open up to anyone. And I think that the people that open up about these bad feelings, and they seem insignificant to to other people. You know, they might be just little trifles of things, but they hold such weight to the person that's actually suffering. And I just, you know, I think possibly the pain that's left behind, I mean, it's just, the weight, the people that have to go through this on both sides of it, the weight on their shoulders is just insurmountable. And I can't even begin to think of the pain that they leave with the people behind. But it's not really about the people that left behind entirely. It's about correcting the way that you think, you know. And I'm guilty of this myself, often kind of going into these spiraling kind of dark places. And I have no idea if this video is actually going to affect anyone or change the way that people think. But you really have to reach out and actually talk to people. Because living with that internal hell and creating and deciding like suicide and ending your life in these dark places that you sometimes briefly kind of like skirt along, it's not the right thing to do. It really brings it in perspective when you actually see the gravity of a situation like this. And there's so much more in life to actually see. Even if you're on your last legs, even if everything, as long as you've got life and breath in your body, I think there is hope. You have to have faith that something's going to come. And I'm not saying that I've found the secret to happiness, that everything is like all happy-go-lucky. I mean, I still kind of like wish things didn't happen the way that they do, but in certain aspects of my life. But it has to be a path. I have to be on it, and there has to be something better around the corner. And I have to believe in that, regardless of whether you think that's blind faith or stupidity or whatever. But it's the way that you have to think. You have to take that Pollyanna kind of attitude of like, take the best of everything and make the best of what actually life gives you, and turn it into something fantastic, because there is always somebody worse than you, and you could sit and feel sorry for yourself as much as you like, but in the end you have to extricate yourself from that situation and that way of thinking. And I hope that this helps somebody actually just come out and face the thing and actually just discuss people. I mean, we do it. We all have our different ways of actually dealing with these things. Some people write poems, some people talk, some people can't write songs, some people do all of it. There is some way to express and to make you feel like a human, to make you feel better about the whole situation. And whatever that thing is, grasp it with both hands and actually do what you have to do to get yourself out of that situation, because you don't want to be the weight on somebody's wrist at a kind of like a funeral, because that's not the solution. I don't think, you know. I'm up for free choice, but I think when you make a choice like that in that dark place that you're at, and I know it's hard not to make it, because when you're in that place it's hard to think anything else, but you have to talk to people. So anyway, I hope that helps someone at very least, and probably shared a bit too much on here, but I thought it was an important thing to talk about.